and it's all made all the more strange by all of the events leading up to what actually happened. To get into that, let's start at the very beginning. MIca Miller was a woman from Myrtle Beach, born and raised. While it seems that she had always gone to church, she began to attend a church called Solid Rock at the age of 10. Eventually, she came to start dating her boyfriend, Jeremy, who she would date for several years until the two ultimately decided to get married in 2012 when she was only 18. A pastor at the church, John Paul Miller, was there to officiate their wedding, watching and smiling all the way. These smiles definitely wouldn't last, though. MIca's husband would be filing for a divorce only a few years later in 2015, saying that their marriage was forever broken. This was because he caught MIca having an affair with the man who officiated their wedding, John Paul. Given that John Paul was both Jeremy's best friend and that MIca was John Paul's babysitter, he was shocked. In one brief moment, he lost his family, his marriage, his church, and his income, given that he worked at the church and definitely wouldn't be returning. John Paul's now ex-wife, Allison, divorced him after the revelation as well. She spoke of the events leading up to the affair, saying, "Our marriage and my husband's career were..." She came to start dating her boyfriend later in 2015, saying that their marriage was forever broken. This was because he caught MIca having an affair with the man who officiated their wedding, John Paul. Given that John Paul was both Jeremy's best friend and that MIca was John Paul's babysitter, he was shocked. In one brief moment, he lost his family, his marriage, his church, and his income, given that he worked at the church and definitely wouldn't be returning. John Paul's now ex-wife, Allison, divorced him after the revelation as well. She spoke of the events leading up to the affair, saying, "Our marriage and my husband's career were less than stable at the time, because at the time my husband's affair was discovered, he had previously admitted to both me and our congregation that he had an addiction to prostitution. He had also confessed to me and other staff members of the church that he had sexual encounters with young females from the church, who were under the age of 16. When the defendant's affair was discovered, the church leaders demanded that the defendant seek counseling for sexual addiction. When he refused, the majority of our church left the congregation."
New year, fresh start, and a chance for kids to get back on track in the classroom. At Sylvan, your child...
Surprisingly, this really wasn't enough to humiliate both John Paul or MIca. Even after getting caught, they continued seeing each other in much the same manner. 2 years later, the couple got married when John Paul was 37 and MIca was only 23. Still, though, it did seem that, oddly enough, the few remaining members of their church congregation approved of it. John Paul continued his job as a pastor, while MIca remained very involved with the church. MIca had a passion for singing in front of their church many times over the years. Her true passion was mission trips, though. After going to Africa on a mission trip, she fell in love with the whole concept. After coming back to America afterward, she said that she now dreamed of opening a school in Africa and staying there more long-term. MIca was not as happy in the US as many people had assumed. Things were very dark behind the scenes with her husband. She began to feel that, ever since she was only 10 years old, John Paul had been grooming her. While she didn't specify exactly how, she said that he would keep her close with her church involvement. As things got more and more unsettling within their family home, MIca began to confide in her sister that John Paul had her fearing for her life. She told her sister that JP was monitoring her movements with tracking devices, trying to take her car away, and limiting her interactions with others. Once word got back around to her husband that she was telling people these things, he was very angry and offended. MIca began documenting everything going on and gathering evidence to bring to a divorce attorney. Not only was she making an attempt to keep a record of JP's abuse, she was also gathering evidence against him involving some other shady dealings he had been a part of. According to her, he had paid off or blackmailed his associates on various occasions. However, once he got the hunch that she was doing something like this, she came to find that all of her documents were deleted and she was locked out of her iCloud, email, and Facebook accounts. At least once afterward, John Paul used one of her accounts to message others in her name, making it appear as if everything was normal. That would continue for a while until she got her accounts back later on. MIca told her sister that all she wanted to do was get a divorce, move out to Kenya part-time, and serve on mission trips. She told her sister that she was, quote, fearful she would not make it to the divorce and that her life would be taken from her. Eventually, John Paul did come to apologize to MIca, to a degree. He said that he was both sorry for damaging her vehicle and for getting mad at her for supporting her family over him. MIca called the police, saying that someone had stabbed a razor blade into her tire one day. She said that it was the second time device that you can easily buy online. Hired an some time. However, at that point, the police said that there wasn't sufficient evidence to prove that he had done anything to her tires. So MIca went to a local shop to get her tire fixed. When she did, she said that the suspect had further contact with him and that he could be written up if he continued. The guy simply said that he understood and the call was ended. After the officer left, MIca then called